Hi. No. Blah, blah, blah. Gotta take that off. Hi, my name is Eric Stevens, and I'm going to be going over the basics of synthesis. Synthesis is the creation and manipulation of electronically or digitally produced sound waves. I'm going to be demonstrating here with this virtual synthesizer called Subtractor from Reason, but the basics carry through all synthesizers. So the first thing about synthesis is the creation of the wave, and that is done from a device which is called an oscillator, here labeled as OSC1. And an oscillator can produce different types of waves, usually. And over here I've got some of those common waves which are produced, the first being the sine wave. The sine wave is a naturally occurring wave in nature, and it has been claimed that all sounds can be created from combinations of sine waves. The next being triangle, then sawtooth, and square. There are other types of waves, but these are the most common and most basic of waves that you'll find in synthesis. I'd like to show you kind of what those sound like. So I have the subtractor here set to a sine wave, producing a sine wave, and nothing but a pure sine wave. And that sounds something like this. And I have over here a little spectrum analyzer, and I'll put that there. If you look at the spectrum, you'll notice that the first thing about a sine wave is that it only creates a very narrow band of frequencies. If I show you, for example, a triangle wave, you'll notice that not only is there the fundamental frequency, but also harmonics going up. And that is the case with all other. This is a square wave. A square wave has a lot of harmonics, and a sawtooth. So the difference between those and a sine wave is pure and consists of only the fundamental frequency. Okay, the next thing about synthesis that would be good to know is filters. After the wave is generated, it can go through a series of filters, and filters will do exactly what it sounds like. They filter out parts of the wave or frequencies. So those harmonics that I just showed you can be filtered out or accentuated through these filters. If you listen, I'll demonstrate a common low-pass filter, and a low-pass filter is taking away the high frequencies, allowing the low frequencies to pass. Oh, I better show you on a wave that has harmonics. So this is a square wave, and I'll be filtering it with a low-pass filter. There's also high-pass filters, which would sound something like this. Its function is the opposite of a low-pass filter. And you also have, most of the time, what is called a resonance control. And resonance, over here I've got a picture. We see the frequency spectrum, and this would be a low-pass filter because it is filtering out all of the high frequencies up here. And resonance is this little bump here. Sometimes you're given the ability to add that little bump or increase it in size, and that adds some different flavors to those filters. So I'll now demonstrate what a filter sounds like when you increase that little bump there or increase the resonance. So we've got, I'll show you on a low-pass filter. We've got our filter, and if we increase the resonance here, that is what resonance does to a filter. Okay, after filters, you also have envelopes, and envelopes can be applied to filters or to the amplifier, and that shapes the way that you hear the sound. I have a picture over here of what an envelope is, and an envelope is typically broken up into 4 common parts. There's A, which stands for attack, D for decay, S for sustain, and R for release. And this is showing you amplitude over time, and you are given the ability to control each of those 4 aspects over time. So if we were to increase or decrease the attack, that's the amount of time it takes for the sound to reach full amplitude. So for example, if I were to slow that down, this is what you would hear. The sound is taking a longer time to get to maximum amplitude. If we take that time down, it is instantaneous. You can also apply those changes to the filter control. So if we add a filter and gave it a shorter or a longer attack time, you get some interesting sounds. And those are envelopes. We also have LFOs, which stand for low frequency oscillators, and these are oscillators which are they're at such low frequencies that you don't hear them. They are typically below 20 hertz, and these aren't meant to be heard as you hear the first synthesizer. These oscillators are meant to affect certain aspects of the sound. So you can choose a destination, or you're telling what the LFO to affect, and then you can change things such as the rate of how it is affected, the amount, and so on. You can even, in many cases, change the type of wave which is manipulating. So let me show you what a sine wave LFO would sound like if it is affecting the amplitude. So that is affecting the amplitude, positive and negative, in a sine wave pattern. You can change the rate, you can make that go faster, and you can make it affect it more. And that's what LFOs do. You can have them affect many different parts of the waveform. Those are kind of the basics of synthesis, and it gets very interesting. I was just showing you a single oscillator with very little filtering, and I just demonstrated a little bit of an LFO, but synthesis can get much more complicated than that. Synthesizers are capable of, in theory, they're capable of reproducing pretty much any instrument, but it can get very difficult. Anyway, that is the basics, and that's all I really wanted to share. So, goodbye.
It's like 8 minutes.